So you ended your career as a helicopter pilot. Is that when you left the Air Force?
My last couple of years, 4 or 5 years in the Air Force, I headed up an acquisition program where we bought helicopters from the Italians. I started off as the training officer, making sure that the simulator we were buying and the training courses were to what we needed. And then I took over the program and was seconded to Italy for a couple of years. And while I was there, I got on very well with the CEO of the company, and he offered me a position as a consultant. So I decided, actually, this is a good time possibly to move on. And because I'd been born in the UK, it was pretty easy. We were still part of the European Union. So,
yeah.
So to go and work.
So what was your role as the consultant?
I was in the training department. There was a new academy that they'd created or formed at Sesto Calende, which is right up on the tip of Lago Maggiore. They had a whole bunch of simulators teaching people, pilots, how to fly helicopters and the maintenance technicians on those. And my job was making sure that the training was fit for purpose. Not as teaching them to ride helicopter, but because it was an international academy, there were civil aviations from around the world, and different nuances, slightly different regulations, and make sure that the training that we were offering met with those. So it was challenging, but very fulfilling. And I was there for a year, and there was a post that opened up in Westland Helicopters in Yeovil. And I ended up there also in the training department. But what I would do was went out with the salesperson who was selling helicopters, go with him and basically do a training assessment of whoever the client was, whether it was an offshore oil company or a military or just a VIP, and what sort of training they may or may not need, and support them in whatever they need.
And you were focused a lot on training, so I can understand the move from training to coaching. Tell me, what's the difference?
Well, it's funny you say that. I never ever thought that I'd be involved in training. In the Air Force, for you to, if you're ambitious, if you want to get anywhere in the Air Force as a pilot, you have to do instructor schools. You have to be an instructor. It's exactly the same as here in the Royal Air Force. And I kicked against it for 12 years. And eventually I couldn't, and I was posted. And I've never had children of my own. And the most fulfilling experience I've ever had was my first 2 students out of school. I taught them how to fly, and when they qualified and got their wings, it was incredibly emotional for me. It still is to this day. That part of me went into it. I helped that. And then when I went into the corporate world, I've always been a firm believer of knowledge is power, but with a huge caveat is if you share that knowledge, it doesn't help you keep it to yourself. And I like doing that, and I seem to get on with a lot of the youngsters and the juniors that are joining in, and it was incredibly satisfying to sort of mentor them. So now it's not only training, but come on, this is how we do it. Let's go on. And I think that progression and what that did for me and the feeling it gave me is, I don't think there's anything more satisfying than seeing someone succeed and knowing that you've helped them do that. And it doesn't matter what the heck it is, whether it's as a sport coach and in winning a World Cup, or even just in a small school team winning the trophy or winning a game, to business owners or to executives and helping them succeed in